Mike Jones of Phil Jones. Have you guys know me personally, professionally, and I am the host of the Extraordinary Man podcast. Welcome, welcome. And you guys know this handsome gentleman who is on the other side of me. He is one of the greatest, if not the bestest, the greatest at being the bestest or the best at being the greatest. I don't care how you juxtapose it. He does it all. He's the handiest man, the cleanest of the clean, the blackest of the black, the whitest of the white. He got it all together. That man got the best salt and pepper blend beard I have ever seen in my life.
Man,
State your
it
name.
takes a lot of talent to get that going. I am Midas. Make sure you put a king in front of that. Let's go.
All right, so I had a pastor once upon a time ago that he used to say stuff like, when it come down to conversations about the money, it get funny. He used to always ask, like, why you say that? He's like, when it comes to our people, we not okay with having conversations about money. Either A, because we don't understand it, or because we overvalue and overpraise it, or because we don't look at it like what it actually is. We see it as if it's, some people see money as more of a God than God himself. To them, they pray to God for money. And then when they get money, God go out the window until they need more. You see, there are certain circumstances that we have to understand when it comes down to living, right? And one of the things that we're going to get into the conversation about today is going to be about money. King Midas, this is something that you are hugely proficient in when it comes down to not only understanding the money, but when it comes down to getting money. So we're going to start off right out the gate. What is money?
So right off the gate, and this is actually going to shatter a lot of people's thought process about money and around money, or whatever they thought about money. So to keep it all the way funky, I'm gonna just come straight out with it. Money ain't real. Uh, and the reason that I say that is because we haven't actually used like official real money in a very long time. What we have today, those reserve notes, things of that nature, those are called, it's called currency, which is similar to money, but it's not actually money. Money holds value over time. Currency is meant to continuously be circulated. The word currency comes from current, and in order for it to be a current, it has to move. So that's where that whole uh, terminology comes from. So hope that was like, you know what I'm saying, mind blown moment right there for a lot of people. But yeah, we haven't used money in a very, very long time. Um, the money to, or currency, or rather, bartering, yes, it's still a medium of exchange, but there's whole other aspects around it that takes it out of the money category and puts it more in a currency category.
So, to what you saying, I'm going to bring up a small Snapple top fact that I
Mhm.
want the people to be able to hold on to. You mind if I shut my screen for a second?
Oh yeah, please.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's go. President Richard Nixon announcing the severing of links between the dollar and the gold as part of a broad economic plan on August 15th of 1971.
Hmm. Yep.
So you guys can feel free to look deeper into that specific story if you have not heard it. I wasn't around in 1971, but being somebody who values education, I looked into it. And the devaluing or the separation from the gold standard was based on the fact that the United States dollar was the reserve currency for the world for probably the last 100 years. And because of that, after World War II, the strength of the US dollar was the strongest anywhere else because it was backed behind tangible items. So when the UN members decided that they wanted to back their money behind something safe, they invested gold into the United States in exchange for being able to utilize the medium exchange of the US dollar as a world reserve currency. Well, what happens is the United States started printing too much money. Inflation started to take place, and the world started to get a little nervous. So, what happens when the world gets nervous? Just like people who panic when the stock market starts to get a little wavery and they pull all their money out, France, various other countries started requesting their gold back. Richard Nixon, nah, that's dead. The US dollar is no longer backed by gold and silver as it once was before, effective in August of 1971. So, what used to be a Treasury Reserve note ultimately turned into becoming, well, a Treasury Reserve bond turned into a note, which a note is just nothing. It's backed by human capital, by the belief that it's worth something. So that's something that you guys might want to look into a little bit further when it comes down to understanding money, but trust and believe that there's tangibles to understanding why he made the statement that he made that money is worth nothing.
And then, and you also, again, we're talking about the Federal Reserve. So for those of you that don't know what the actual Federal Reserve is and how they came to be, first of all, don't let the word federal, trick you into thinking that it's some type of government entity.
They're about as federal as FedEx, Federal
There you
Express.
go. You know what I'm saying? It's just an organization. It's just a regular company. It's a bank. Okay. It's a privately owned bank. Now, how the Federal Reserve came to be, and they were real slick, they were conniving. So they had some people that was trying to push the ability to have money printed in one central location or currency printed in one central location. So they passed down this bill December, and it happened in December 20 it happened December 23rd, 1913. uh
Don't
and of
forget
course,
Jekyll Island.
and please research that to make sure that I was right, because I pulled that off the top of my head. But I believe it was December 23rd, 1913. And of course, everything shut down because the next day was Christmas Eve. So they slid it in real quick and hurry up and got it signed because everybody just wanted to get up out of there. So they just signed it and passed it through. And once something becomes law, you can't write a law to overtake or reject or omit or delete another law. So here we are
You
today.
can make an amendment, but of course the powers that be wasn't probably into that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, but here we are today, still using the reserve notes.
So, Midas, we went down a little brief history of when we abandoned the gold standard.
Mm-hmm.
And I also did my little Google search right quick just to validate the statement that you made as far as December 23rd. You were absolutely right. There's a couple of more pieces that I wish you would have added into, but we can get to that at a later date as far as, the meeting at Jekyll Island,
Oh,
saying who was who, what communities. Because you got to remember that the income tax and the Anti-Defamation League and all these other things were also associated with those same things.
mm-hmm.
In that same bill, there was other tangibles, but we won't get into it because I don't want to make this based on the conspiracy. But they kind of tie into the money system as well. So specifically, because you're the money man of this podcast, I need to know when you told me that money is nothing, is basically the world of make believe. Well, I can go in my wallet and log into my bank account and I can see numbers. When you tell me that money is nothing, like explain to me what that means. Like, are you really telling me that money is nothing, or what is money exactly,
So,
based on how it is currently?
so how it is currently, all the money that we're pretty much utilizing now are basically in their debt notes at this point. So, in order for $1 to have came into existence, it had to have been borrowed into existence. In order to pay back that dollar, you have to then borrow another dollar into existence to then pay back that same dollar. But then, in order to make more money, you got to borrow more dollars into existence, and then you got to borrow more dollars into existence to pay back the debt on those borrowed dollars. So right now, we're in a cycle to where pretty much everything that we have now, it's all money that we're supposed to owe back. And I know it's confusing, but the more money you have, technically, that's how much money you owe because they're all debt notes. Did I do a good job?
I mean, in essence, but it's like I want to dumb it down a little bit.
Okay.
So when I'm looking at money, because I know when I see $5, I see $5.
Yeah, so you can use $5 as a medium of exchange to purchase your bread, your milk, your eggs, your gas, and whatever. But essentially, because it's not backed by anything. It has no actual gold or silver, which is basically natural money. That was considered God's money. Because it's not backed by that anymore, and it's really only backed by human capital, it doesn't really hold the same value, and it doesn't have the same pretty much validity as it once did before, because it's dependent on people going into the workforce. Well, now, as you can see, because a lot of people aren't in the workforce, you can see how valuable that dollar is now. It holds no weight, to the point where we now have certain countries actually are trying to remove themselves off utilizing uh, the gold, not the gold, but the utilizing the American dollar and using something else, a euro or something like that. So,
Well, actually, I mean, the thing is that of the BRICS countries, the BRICS countries, as of right now, if I'm not mistaken, includes like Venezuela, certain countries in Latin America, which I think Brazil is part of that as well.
mhm.
Don't directly quote me on it; just do your research. Russia,
Oh,
there's a
Russia
few
for sure.
countries in Africa, China.
China for sure. Like China and Russia actually sat down and had a meeting together, and that was actually publicized. They had a meeting together
Yeah,
about
so
that.
and with that is like basically what happens that although those countries only represent about 4% of the world standard, it does present a potential threat to the use of the US dollar.
Mhm.
Now, here's what I really want to get into is that I want to talk about it from a perspective of everyday use, because for somebody that's watching this, being 13 minutes into the podcast, I'm the everyday Joe Blow. I get up and I go to work. I make $1. I know what my rent costs. I know what my bread costs. I know what my eggs cost. I know what my child care costs. I know what the cost of gas is. I know cars. I know what, what I'm saying, if I'm trying to buy a house, I know what the 10%, 15%, 5%, 3.5% for the FHA. I know what money is. So when you tell me that money means nothing, it's like I want you to speak to me like the everyday consumer who deals with money based off of what it's being used for. Like, give me the usefulness conversation, because the economist conversation is great, but I don't understand it
Mhm.
because I just get up and I go to work every day.
For sure. So, giving it to you on a level that you understand is, of course, is in your hands. So the best way to understand it is, because we don't necessarily use a barter system anymore. Uh, and we don't use any other, we got other, well, we had other different forms of money, but because we mainly moved away from the barter system is the main reason why we came up with this medium of exchange. So that way, let's say that you do tomatoes, this farm over here does eggs, they have chicken. Well, if you need the eggs, but they don't need tomatoes, you can't get the eggs. So they came up with this concept of having that medium of exchange so we wouldn't have to deal with that. Okay, you need the tomatoes, I need the eggs. Yes, that system still works today, but however, I mean, it's not backed by anything. I mean, that's kind of the best way to explain it. Like it's not, it doesn't have a solid backing. So if the dollar ever does collapse fully, there's nothing in the back of it there's no safety net
Stabilize it.
to stabilize it. Yeah, there's no safety net there.
So let's try it from this perspective.
Hmm.
Money is a tool, right? Like any
Some
other tool.
to some.
You look at, I mean, it should be a
It
tool.
should it's supposed
And
to
I
be.
want it to be more so because the thing is that if you only make $500 a month and rent is 15, it's not a very good tool. It's like bringing a screwdriver to a place that you need a hammer for.
Hmm.
So money, by being a medium of exchange, if I have to look at something as a medium of exchange, and by medium of exchange meaning that this is what people have agreed upon is the metric that we're going to use in order to buy and sell. So just to make sure that everybody understands clearly what that means by medium of exchange, this is what is the agreed upon instrument that will be used in order to buy and sell goods and services.
Correct.
So in the event that somebody said, hey, I don't take US dollars, but I take Bitcoin. At that point in time, if I have Bitcoin and you accept Bitcoin, that is now our medium of exchange.
Because we came to that agreement, and we also came to the agreement
Exactly.
of the value of that said Bitcoin.
So when it comes down to the concept of dollars, dollars is universally recognized in the United States and across the world as a medium of exchange because of the strength of the production power and consumption power of the United States of America.
Hmm.
In the event that the New York Stock Exchange was to go down for any reason, the world economy collapses right along with it. If you Google search right now, what is the most important city on the face of the planet? It is New York City. You cripple New York, you cripple the world. Not Tokyo, not London, not Sao Paulo, not Rio de Janeiro, not Chicago, not Los Angeles, not Atlanta. New York City, Manhattan, New York is the most important city on the planet. And if you destroy New York with a flood, bombing, whatever the situation may be, if anything specifically was to happen to New York, the world economy is drastically affected by whatever. If New York sneezes, the world ripples.
Pretty much.
So what I mean by this specifically is when I'm thinking about money, I'm thinking about money from the perspective of I see the cost of goods, I see the job that earns. So if I go to this job that's paying me $15 an hour and I work 40 hours a week, that after 80 hours, a paycheck is going to emerge. It's going to tell me that I have earned this much minus taxes, health insurance, or whatever other intangibles. Now that I have this net amount of what they told me that my work was worth, it allots me a certain amount of spending power in the economy. So the thing is that from the perspective of money being a fiat, it's something that is just an idea that people have agreed upon as something that is tangible only because of the fact that people believe it. I want to look at it more so of it's still, even if it exists in here, because we use it out here, it exists. So now it's like, how do we take money as it is and utilize it as the tool that it should be used as rather than seeing it as something that's unobtainable or something that is so above us that we can't understand it?
Um, damn, that was loaded.
It wasn't loaded. It was more so of a because when you have a mastery understanding of something, you have to remember that you can't always give people at the level that you understand it.
Hmm.
So I can't Johnny Cochran my way through a kindergarten class. They can't comprehend it. And it's not to say that people are stupid. It's just the fact
Yeah.
that the way that we understand money is that if I go to work every day and you tell me I'm just giving hours of my day away for free because it really doesn't exist, it's all make believe, I can't wrap my mind around that.
So I think to get deep into that question, I think that people first would need to understand the four functions and then the five properties. So there's four functions, and the first one, of course, we already established was there's a medium of exchange. The second function is the measure of value. So the measure of a value is if we see this $100 bill, we see this Franklin, we have all across the board agreed upon that Franklin is 100. Okay, that's the measure of value. Okay, then you have your standard of payment. So your standard of payment is basically uh your standard of payment is basically like, can you defer it? Can you pay taxes with it? Can you pay debt with it? Can you make certain purchases with this said currency? Okay, did are we coming to an agreement? Can we use it for this? And then the last one is a store of value. So over time, it's supposed to, regardless of if the market is up or if the market is down, regardless of what the economy is going through, it is supposed to have a stored value, and it's supposed to hold that value no matter what. Okay, those are the five functions that we classify as money. All right. Now the five properties, I don't know those by heart, so I'm gonna actually research that real quick, and then I'm gonna give it to you guys. So,
And put
all
screen.
right. So the five, I got it. So the
Yep.
five functions, I got it. The five functions is it has to be fungible. Okay, fungible is it's an individual unit, and it must be capable of mutual substitution. Can it be interchanged? Okay, it's interchangeability. So basically swapping from USD to yen, stuff. It has to be interchangeable. It has to be durable. So can it withstand repeated use, which it can for sure. It has to be divisible. So can we break it down into smaller units, smaller decimals? Can we change? Can we make change from it? It has to be portable. Can you fold it up and throw it in a wallet, throw it in your purse? Acceptable. We already talked about. Are we agreeing that we can use this to pay for certain items? And then a real big one, it's scarcity. It's scarcity. And this is the big one that has the world kind of on edge because money right now really isn't scarce because of how much went into circulation during the pandemic. So that's why you got China, Venezuela, and all them looking for different alternatives just in case we happen to collapse all the way. So I think we may have stabilized a little bit, but we don't fully know because they're not coming out with any more stories about it just yet. But as of right now, uh, I would say, try to make sure that you stack as much as you can and then pay off as much as you can. Try to pay off all your debts as much as possible, as fast as possible. Uh, just in case, So we're definitely gonna move to a different type of currency, but we don't know what that exchange value of that currency is gonna be yet. So that's why I recommend that. So all right. Now going back to the utilization of it being a tool. So with those understandings, you should be able to now understand, okay, what money is and why money is the way it is. So now you should be able to now use those definitions and those characteristics and utilize that to now start being able to use it for you. Okay, I'm going to use this money, or I'm going to get this money, I'm going to use this money, and I'm going to put this money to work. So now I'm going to put this money over here in these stocks, because remember, it's a tool. And the only way it's going to be a tool is if you learn how to turn it into making more money for you. A lot of us have this euphoric, where we have this euphoria being able to run our own business, being a day trader, and all these other aspirations. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. We got to have them. But utilizing that information for real, okay? Putting it in the stock market and then getting dividends back. Putting it in some real estate and then receiving dividends back, whether it be from a REIT or whether it be from an actual physical piece of property, okay? Anything and everything that you do, wherever you move in your money, it's supposed to be able to give you a valid return or some type of nice return, okay? Name of the game is to not lose it, but to gain it. So that's kind of really the best way that I can explain to being able to utilize it as a tool. When you can do something as simple as putting it in a CD. On Money Mondays, I'll show you guys that I put it in regular stocks, S&P. That's the top 500 companies, VOO, top 500 companies. And I also put in REITs, which is almost similar to your S&P and your VOO, but it's all real estate. So, and I put it into other different commodities and softwares and things of that nature that are definitely going to be something that's going to be utilized for a long time over time. But that's the best way that I can do it, man. Just whatever you are spending it on, whatever you putting it in, whatever your plans are, make sure that it's able to bring back a nice nest for you.
All right, so let's take it from this point, because you said a
Mhm.
lot of real juicy stuff inside of that. And again, I didn't want you to feel baited. I wanted you to feel more so like money is such a big topic, and there's levels of understanding when it comes down to money. That some people look at money like it's the end all be all because they've never had it. So when they look at money and say designer bags, shoes, cars,
And that's
houses.
fine. And that's fine. But again, like I said, if you okay, so this is how the wealthy do it. Okay. If you want a Birkin bag, nothing wrong with the Birkin bag. Okay. But don't stack all your regular bread to go spend what could essentially be 2 to 3 down payments on the house for a Birkin bag. What they do is they then take that same money and go establish a business or invest it in something that is going to give them a nice return, and then they use the dividends from that return to go then buy the Birkin bag. But that investment that you put in is still going to churn and give you repayment or pay you out dividends consistently. That's how you're supposed to do it. Okay. If you want to go get that Lambo, if you want to go get that range, you want to go get that i8, whatever you want to get, man, whatever you want to get, you're supposed to take whatever initial money that's going to use as a down payment and put it in something else that is going to give you a consistent return. And then you then use whatever you put that money into, that's going to give you the down payment or pay it all the way off, and it's going to give you the monthly payments for that said vehicle and cover the maintenance and cover the insurance and cover everything else that comes along with that said vehicle. That's how the wealthy do it. They don't just grab the money and just go straight and run and go get it. They invest it in something and then use that investment to then go get it, because then once they bought it and they have it and they own it, well, that initial investment is still paying them out dividends. So they never lost that initial money that they had. And if they so choose to, they can then still pull their regular money out of that original investment if they wanted to. I would. A lot of them don't, because you could just use the residual, income, the dividends to pay for everything. So that's how you would want to do that. That's how I recommend you operate. Again, that's not financial advice. I'm gonna put that disclaimer out there. Make sure that you holler at your own financial professional or fiduciary that can set you up and put you on the right path for that. But that's how the wealthy do it.
So you just said a mouthful right there. I wish I had a bomb to drop personally, because I mean,
You know what? You know what? Let me go ahead and throw one in there.
you should probably have a let's go. So one of the things that I look at is the fact that when we have conversations about money, some of the biggest areas that money conversations I had either between the people who have absolutely no money and the
Mhm,
people who have more money than they need.
mhm,
For whatever reason, in this middle, people get very squeamish about the conversation of money. It's like it's a faux pas to have a conversation about money in certain households. We don't talk about money. It's like it's tacky, it's taboo, and it's just like why?
mhm.
Why is that? Why is it that what you're doing to invest in? How do you know that by me telling you about the 529 plan that I'm investing in for my child to go to college and being able to lock in a rate with the state so that that money that I'm putting up for them to go to school is going to? Why is it that I'm hiding that information from these people who might be able to benefit from that? But it's a
I, I don't know, Mike, man. That crab in the barrel, type of mentality. Um, that whole like, I definitely trying to make sure that we stay in the lead and all that. Ain't no telling. It could also be, and I definitely know for sure that a lot of us just didn't grow up around money, didn't have it. We seen other people with it. We seen things on television and all that, but something that's real, like in my face, being able to see that, being able to go talk to that person, ask questions, pick their brain, whatever, like we just don't have it, and the level of education in the household just wasn't there. We go to work, we come home, we work hard, saying we make it do what it do, we get by, but that's it. Nobody was investing, nobody's using Gerber plans, nobody's using permanent life insurance policies or universal life insurance policies, which is what awesome. We don't know anything about the Roth IRAs, what I'm
spin of a
saying?
family trust.
Just we don't know anything about trust, and that's just what it is. Like they're unable to even have these conversations, possibly feel like they're not even qualified to have these conversations. But I think that we still should at least be able to step up and say, hey, you know, I be real. Listen, I don't know. But listen, you can read these books and maybe I don't know if it's going to help you or not, but it's a start. Hey, you know what? Uh, I heard on the radio about this conference. So I heard this, or I saw this, or I saw that. Go research it. But I'm not a reliable source for that said subject. And I think that if we can become more open with that and be able to speak more on pushing others to, what I'm saying, man, get out there, research, look into it, then I think we'll start to see a shift in the paradigm of people becoming a little bit more financially intelligent. And with all this newer technology, especially, again, I say it all the time, we're in the information age. So there's tons and tons and tons of information now that I hope people are out there trying to seek it to where, coming up with different ideas and being able to find different ways of saving money and making money and where to put money. um Reading the IRS handbook, I keep it real with we got to read that, because in there they telling you how to move the money. They telling you how they want you to move the money. Read your
And
consumer laws
and
because your yep, go ahead.
for those who don't know, especially if you in business, the IRS is your friend. They're not your enemy.
What? Yes.
The IRS, yeah, they want their money, but the IRS is like that friend that's like, hey, you ain't got it right now. Don't worry about it, man. Just get it to me. You got it. Just keep in touch with me and let me
Yeah.
know where you at. Just if
Yeah.
when you can make a payment, just make one. But we good. The IRS is very patient. It's only when you're trying to get over, when you're not communicating, when you're not doing what you need to do. I've been audited 3 times in my lifetime.
Hmm.
I've been audited 3 times. This past year, I went through an audit. Still waiting on the results of it. But again, once you've done it several times, it's muscle memory. When you are running a company as a sole proprietorship, you're able to file your taxes the same as you would as you were filing as an individual. So you don't have to file as an LLC. You don't have to buy the expensive software. You don't have to pay the additional money to file business taxes because technically everything that you use to spend to invest into your company, your sole proprietorship, came from your day job. So you're really just recycling after tax money to make new money. They're not
Yep.
going to penalize you for that. However, they just want to know where the separation is between where your money. It pretty much works the same way as a Roth IRA, to where they want to know how much money did you make off of the pre-existing money. We're not trying to tax you on already taxed money. We just want to know how much new money did you earn off of the old money,
Unless you want to pull out early.
and we
Then
just
we
want our fair share. That's all.
hmm
We just want our fair share. So how much did you earn off of this? So if I made 60K this year in my day job, but I'm reporting that I earned 110,000 on my taxes. Okay, well, logically, they're saying, okay, well, 50K of that belongs, we tax you on 50K of that because we already took the other one up front. But realistically, it ain't 50K. Realistically, it's like, okay, well, if you took 30K of this income and you put it into this and you made back 50K, technically you paid yourself back the 30K that you invested in after tax funds and you really only made 20K in profit.
20K. Yeah. Yeah. Because you put it back in your business and that was a loan.
Because I already made that 60. That
Yep.
60 I already made, but I took 30 of it and I put it over here. And then I was able to make 50 over here, but I gave myself back the initial 30 I took from over here. So
Yeah, and it's so many more it's so many more tax benefits. And like I said, the
what
IRS, they tell you how they want you to move the money. And it's like if you do decide, and he's speaking on the sole prop side. Now, if you do decide to come to the LLC side, a corp side, S corp, whatever you want to do, LLP, not LLC, but LLP. If you decide to step on this side, then you get to play with all of it. You do got to keep up with all of it, but you get to play with all of it. None of it is pre-taxed. You get to use all of it, and then you get taxed on what you didn't use, which is a lovely thing. You also get the benefit of your children. You get to pay your children up to almost 13,000 a year, tax free. So you essentially pay your business, and I think you get up to 3 children. I'll Don't hold me to that. I'll look it up, but I think you get up to 3 children that you get to pay almost up to $13,000 a year tax free. Now you do got to pay it though. You have to have that money actually go into an account that's attached to their social. You know what I'm saying? But essentially, that's washed money, and then you can do whatever you want from the account or whatever you want to do with it. But
and again, that's the
it's,
that's
it's so much.
and that's the beautiful thing about really understanding the IRS and money as a tool. You see, because he explained to you about how what he just said to you guys, if y'all heard him, you got to sometimes listen for the bars in the bars. Is he just showed you A, how to utilize the IRS as a tool, and B, how to secure generational wealth. By me giving tax deferred money to each one of my children, and then ultimately I'm raising them to inherit the business anyway, which I'm basically investing startup capital into their own accounts for them to use to further the agenda and or the education. Because he may have started with no business degree. He started to do whatever it is that he started in order to build the foundation of it. Now I'm going to send my son and my daughter to school. And I'm going to send one to school to learn law, and I'm going to send one to school to learn business. You go get your MBA, you go get your JD, and then now you two are going to take care of the business affairs and the legal affairs to further this thing and grow this thing and mass produce this thing and 10x this thing that I built. And I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let the next generation take care of it, because you're going to use your new information and your modern brain to understand what is going on in the world of today, and you're going to further this thing that I built. But I built the platform for you, and I started investing the capital in the human capital aspect of it. I started investing in giving you your own money for your own education, for your own startup, for your own piece of whatever it was out of the business that I created. And the IRS gave me the benefit to be able to provide you that luxury.
Yep. Yep. And these are the same benefits that all these 100-year-old companies, 200-year-old companies, they followed that exact model. Sam Walton, Jack Daniel, they all followed that same model.
And a lot of times it's simple. Now, just to recap a lot of what we talked about, we talked a lot about money. And the thing about it is that, again, when we talk about money, the conversation gets funny. One of the biggest things that I want you guys to understand about the concept of money is the fact that we could never in a lifetime sum up money in one podcast, in one entity, in one situation, because it's too broad. The best thing is that the more questions that I asked pertaining to money, the more quality the questions or the quality of the answers that you receive. Because your need or your understanding of what money is or what it should be may not be the same as mine. You may have trouble budgeting and saving, although you make a decent salary, whereas somebody else doesn't understand what they need to do or what professions that they're even good at to find out how to make the money they need to be able to live the lifestyle that they want. And other people may have the money and they may have come into generational wealth, but they don't have the necessary skills to preserve the generational wealth, and they need financial advisors. Like, there's so many worlds involved in the idea of money. And notice I said the idea of money, because it is to you what it is. I come from an era to where you could get your head busted for $20 because somebody says the principle of the fact that you owe me money and you try to play me over the money. Such a small amount could drive a person to violence, because where they are in their lives, there's very little value for anything outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other people that they understand, I only play with big money. And we don't play violence. We play big boy games like, I'll take you to court.
Mm-hmm.
And I got enough money that I can withstand the court process. I got the best lawyers on staff, and I'll drag you. I will break you and drag you through the cleaners.
And I want to tell you guys something about that court. Okay. And I saw this one time, but it hit so hard. And a lot of people don't know is that paper is way more deadlier than any other weapon that you can present to anybody. That paper is dangerous. Them court systems are dangerous.
Well, that's why they said that term, that the pen is mightier than the sword.
The pen is mightier than the sword, man. And that is that is real. You know, do you think that it's just some old ancient Chinese proverb, something like that? No, man. That is real. That is real. I, seen people stuff just on the curb. People just on the curb. It's rough, man. It's rough. I done seen businesses get tanked over that pen swipe.
I've seen people go from wealth to nothing, all because they put too much trust into an accountant who robbed them blind, didn't pay the taxes, and got off scot free.
You heard
Because
the
even if
story
you
about
haven't, you said what?
you heard that Steve Harvey story.
I mean, same thing
That
happened to
that
same
hit
thing.
for 20 million.
Well, same thing happened to Fat Joe. That's why he was in jail. He has to go serve that time for tax evasion, although
Wasn't even
he
his
did
fault.
although it wasn't his fault directly,
Mhm.
because you didn't fact check the fact checker.
Yeah.
You're liable because you earned the money. He didn't earn the money. You hired him. So because you didn't do the due diligence to follow up to verify that the things, you didn't say, "Hey, I need to see those receipts." Hey, what are those receipts? What are those? What is those? I need to see this. I need to see that. Hey, can I get the proof from the IRS verifying that you paid it? Because of the fact that you were living a life and you didn't do the due diligence to follow up. And this is one of those things about self-education. And I really want to say to you guys that, especially coming from a man's podcast, that we talk about these things, that no matter how you look at it, we provide an essential service based off making people aware, but it is imperative that you do your own research to understand specifically what it is that you're trying to get yourself into. And even if you don't have a mastery understanding of what you're trying to do, you should know enough about it to know how to navigate the direction. I am not a full-time film editor, but I know enough about film and editing to know what I want to see and how to lead the direction of what I want to see in the editing process. I know what I want to see. I know what the names of the edits are called. And what I don't know, I shadow, I learn, I ask questions. Hey, what is this? What's that tool that you used? What's that? What is that blur effect that you did right there? I like how you made me pop out right there in that photo. How do you do that? Can you show me where you went to do that? You have to be involved in the process by which
Yep.
your livelihood is at stake. You're involved in your job that earns you the money that you bring home to pay your bills. You're involved, like you as an independent contractor, as a contract fulfillment company. You, sir, you know what you negotiated a job for. So before you take a job, my price is my price. Well, we can't
Mm-hmm.
afford to pay you that. Well, I'll move on to another job because my price is my price. My
Mm-hmm.
resume is my resume. So if you want my quality of work, you pay my price. If you want their quality of work, you pay their price and when you're ready to pay me what I'm worth, now you're not only going to pay me my price, but you're going to pay me extra to go and fix what they did.
Yep.
And that's the nature of the business. That's why my price is my price. You're paying for my expertise. You're paying for my timeliness. You're paying for my professionalism. You're paying for my promptness. You're paying for my tools. You're paying for my mind, my skill set, for my team, my crew,
Mm-hmm.
my training ability, my leadership skills. You're paying for all of these things. That's why my price is my price.
Yep. Yep. I was watching this one video, and this guy says something along the lines of, I guess he went to a job and he did the job in like 30 minutes. And I guess the customer was trying to, talk him down on the price because he did it in 30 minutes. But, you got to hold strong. The guy was like, listen, I did this job in 30 minutes because I have 15 years of knowledge behind me that has led me up to this point to be able to do this job
In 30 minutes.
in 30 minutes. That's what you're paying for. My knowledge, my skill set, you know. And you got to be mindful of that when you're talking to individuals because you can come off extremely disrespectful with all that constant, what I'm saying, what is it, haggling and trying to, what I'm saying, talk down and downplay and what I'm saying, let me get the brown skin hookup, you know what I'm
Well,
saying?
understand something. Understand? I want you to understand something. I want everybody to listen to understand this too. The majority of the world is accustomed to time for dollars. So that's their mindset. So when they see something done in time, they don't understand skill set and expertise. They understand 8-hour shift, regardless if it's a light day or if it's a heavy day. It's 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about it, they only see the world from what you pay me per hour. They don't see the world from I have cultivated this skill over time. So explaining this to some people, they can't fathom it because they don't have a skill that they have gotten themselves to the place. So the best way to deal with that when talking to people is that you have to appeal to an area of expertise that they may have in their own right. Whether they're, hey, that's your car. Do you wash your own car or you take it someplace else? Looks really clean. How long does it take you to do this? Because clearly from the detail, you take a lot of pride in making sure that your car is clean and on point. Well, when you first started cleaning your cars, how long did it take you? And over time you got better at it and quicker at it because now you have more things that you need to do, right? So because your bucket is this big, when back in the day it was this big, now you see the value of being able to do an efficient job in a quicker time, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
but did the price of cleaning your car, did it go down because you got better at cleaning it? Or did you go to the car wash and was the car wash price and the vacuum price the same every time that you went? Or did your water bill go down because what you did in your garage or in your driveway, did the amount of soap that you use, did it go down because you were able to clean your car faster? No, it didn't. The soap is the soap. The water
Yep.
is the water. It's the same amount of water for the wash and the rinse. It's the same amount of towels for the dry. It's the same amount of soap for the wash. It's the same amount of Armor All for the tires every time. It's just you got quicker and better and more proficient with practice. And
Hmm.
sometimes you have to learn how to appeal to the human aspect of people because they cannot grasp the concept of anything outside of time for dollars when it comes to work.
I got some sauce.
Go ahead.
I got some sauce. So this is gonna be real quick. All right, just we're gonna eat the burn ends real quick.
The brand is.
Check this out. If I do it cheaper, or if he do it cheaper, or if she do it cheaper, or if all of them do it cheaper, do you still expect the same amount of quality?
Yes.
Think about that when you ask that question.
The thing is that when you're dealing with a certain type of clientele who have a certain level of understanding, and this is why, like, there's a gentleman down here that he had said something that I thought was kind of cool. He had said, and if I can find that Facebook post, I'll ask him if I can share it on the broadcast. But um, basically said you have $50 clients that want you to give them everything under the sun, and you got $5,000 clients that say, "Do your thing. Don't even worry about it." People who spend more money oftentimes have way more important things to do than be micromanaging you. So it's like you're the professional, and that's me. That's the type of guy that I am. If you are the cleaning service and I need my house cleaned or I need my office cleaned, I hired you because the recommendation was you're the best. When I went to go do my due diligence to learn about you, I seen the reviews, I asked my questions, I saw the stars, everything I needed to see. So when I called you over everybody else so that you can do what you need to do so I can go. I
Mhm.
have other things to do. I don't have time to micromanage you. I don't have time to oversee what you do because I'm expecting that you are the best of the best. And that's why I'm going to pay you your rate. I'm going to pay you what you. I have never, and I will say this openly, I have never paid the buddy rate for anything.
Yeah,
I
me either.
always paid what was asked. If your fare is 50, I paid 75.
Hmm. Yep. Always gave tips. Mhm.
I've never in my lifetime ever, and you can find anybody that I know, nobody will ever tell you that I paid the cheap rate for nothing. Now, that doesn't mean that I didn't go take advantage of a discount in the store. But when it came down to an individual or a group of people with a skill set that required them to get paid what they thought that their rate was, if I valued their skill, if I got a shirt airbrushed, I paid the airbrush rate. If I got some shoes customized, I paid the shoe customization rate. If I couldn't afford to pay it at the rate plus tip, I didn't buy it.
Yep. Enough said. Easy.
So, with that much being said, thank you guys for tuning in to the Extraordinary Man podcast today. We're getting into our official pre-record content flow. And we thank you guys for tuning in, as always, for all the great things that we do here on this show. And we got some sweet stuff for y'all coming up soon.
And ribs is saucy.
Oh my God. Like I think I'm gonna cook ribs, beef ribs, because I don't need pork. But beef ribs, and I'm gonna bring them to the table and we're gonna eat ribs while we talking. I'm just gonna add more sauce on as we go. Sometimes the ribs be so good you don't even need sauce, but I'm just saying. Point in this is this. You have to get some level of understanding of the money that you make. Because if you don't understand money, you don't understand why you go to work. You're not just going to work to go pay bills. You're not just going to work to buy a car. You're not just going to work to do subtle luxuries. There is a whole cyclical or the whole circular nature of what money does. That once you give the money to the car dealership, it goes someplace else. And that's why when he's bringing up the concept of currency, current, like a water, a flow, the money keeps moving. When you go get that direct deposit in the bank, the minute that direct deposit hits the bank is already loaning it out to somebody, to a new startup, to somebody who already has A1 credit. Your money, the second that it comes in, is already gone.
That's a whole nother conversation about how the banks operate. They're legally allowed to take like 90% of your money and loan it out.
I think that's gonna be the next show. We're gonna get into the bank.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into the banks. We're gonna talk about loans. We're gonna talk about credit, debit, the definitions of what credit and debit is, how to like how credit and debit system actually works, and like that should be the next show. I think that is a perfect segue from where we are. What you think?
Yeah, absolutely. We can definitely talk about it for sure.
All right, guys. Well, my name is Phil Jones, Mike Jones. However you guys know me personally, professional. I am the A Plus Mike, host of the Extraordinary Man podcast, and you guys know this absolutely beautiful, gorgeous man on the other side of me, my brother.
Oh man.
Just amazing. It's my
So,
brother
man,
right there.
I love you. I love you too, man.
That's my brother, man. Y'all don't understand the love, the admiration that I have for this man over here. I mean, like literally amazing guy, world-class father, future financier, everything under the sun. State your name.
Man, I appreciate all that, man. You too, man. Like definitely world-class father. So before I get to the name, I kind of want to make sure that I leave everybody with at least, one last nugget based around budgeting. And everybody hears the word budget. You should budget, or told you should budget, but no one is not giving you some type of foundation around of getting the budget established, how to actually lay out the budget. And it's real simple. What you need to do is give each and every single dollar a job, just like a tool. A tool is used to do a job. Make sure that every dollar that comes into your account is accounted for, and then you have a specific job for that dollar. Okay, if $5 come into your account, okay, this dollar goes into the S&P, this dollar goes into vacation, this dollar goes into rent, that dollar goes into car note. You know what I'm saying? So on and so forth. Every single dollar needs to have a job. And that's how you can get your budget together. So hopefully that helps somebody. M Midas, make sure you put a king in front of that. Let's go.
That's why I always do, because I have to do the mirror thing on this. That okay? We going in the same
That
direction now.
makes sense,
Finally.
right?
All right, now, thank you guys for tuning into the Extraordinary Men podcast. Make sure to tune in on Friday. We're going to go ahead and post our next episode. We're going to get a little bit deeper into this money thing. We're going to go down this rabbit hole as many times as it takes until we give you guys a full understanding about what we know, and we'll allow you guys to ask questions, comments, concerns, or whatever have you until we have a full understanding of money, not only ourselves, but then the extraordinary men across the world. And welcome to the extraordinary men and the extraordinary community that we are building. So, with that being said, we're out. Peace.